I'm Robert Deming. Thanks for joining us on Viewpoint USA. Today, we're visiting a topic I can't ignore. Republicans just don't understand. So here we have it again. Democrats outflanking the Republicans, outmaneuvering them at every single turn, and doing the same thing to Trump in the end. Trump's strategies, and those of the Republicans, have unraveled during this 2020 election cycle. To be honest, I'm not that convinced that they were any more strategic in the 2016 election either. Trump just excited his base, and the Democrat Party candidate was just horrible. Not sure the Republicans should celebrate that point too much. It's like thinking your favorite NFL team is awesome because it beat the pants off the worst college team. It's painfully clear when you look at politics today, the Republicans just don't know how to play the game, or at least not to win, or they choose not to. Mitch McConnell and the Senate Republicans served Georgia up to the Democrats on a silver platter. And because of this, for dessert, the full control of our federal government. Let's go back a few weeks. Congress put together a pork-filled COVID relief package that included $600 to the citizens of our nation, hundreds of millions to foreign nations, $1 billion to the Smithsonian, and another $900 billion going God knows where else, all buried in this 5,593-page bill. The president stated he would not sign the package unless the pork was removed and the payments to the citizens of the United States were increased to $2,000 and more assistance for families. As I predicted, the Democrat-controlled House would not agree to any of the changes, and Trump would be pressured into signing the bill as is because he already agreed the people need assistance. Now, as my prediction became crystal clear, magically after the bill was signed, then the Democrats were able to push through an amendment tacking on the additional $1,200 to give the people the $2,000 the president originally said they needed. So they couldn't do it. He signs it. And they can? Wait. What? So Trump's backed into a corner because he can't now deny that people need the money after he was fighting for it in the first place. And the Dems have the Republicans between a rock and a hard place. Do they stand on their principles and not approve the added spending? Or do they embrace the Democrats' amendment for more payouts? The amendment would add another $500 billion to the $2.3 trillion COVID relief bill. So basically increasing the relief funding another 20%. But every penny of this increase will go directly to the American citizens. Senate Republicans already bent their principles to greenlight the COVID relief spending that was full of questionable payouts. Why not give a little lagniappe when it would go directly to our taxpayers? Well, this is where my prediction went wrong, and it's further evidence that the Republican Party is totally clueless. In a masterstroke of self-defeat, the Republicans in the Senate chose to vote against the additional spending. So yay, a win for less spending, right? But at what cost? This one action broadcast the fact that the Senate Republicans are not with Trump, nor are they with the people. Not good to hear for a voter in Georgia during the most pivotal election in history. This misfire deflated the pro-Trump Republican voter, so they're less likely and less excited to come out to the polls, while simultaneously deteriorating the faith of the moderate Republican that believes the party has the people's best interest at heart, who now, seemingly proven wrong, stay home as well. The Democrat candidates for Senate changed their message to a very compelling, hey, vote for us. We'll give you Trump's $2,000 checks, and it worked. The Republicans fumbled the ball here, and the Democrats picked it up and ran with it. The lack of foresight from the outset shows a glaring example of the Republicans' lack of political strategy. This shortcoming of political savvy concerning the COVID relief bill in the Republican Party also correlates with the recent election and the outcry over fraud. Republicans simply allowed it to happen. The Democrats hoodwinked them into expanding provisional ballots, increasing mail-in ballots, and to increase absentee ballots. The Republicans didn't push back on any of those things, but in fact, helped pass them. Now, lo and behold, the Republicans allege that these are the factors, the very factors that enabled the election to be stolen. Stolen from them, in their own backyard, in Republican-controlled states, states who themselves loosened the voting restrictions. Republicans have the majority in Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, Michigan, and Wisconsin. Yet in Pennsylvania, the Republican majority in 2019 passed no excuse mail-in voting, 50-day mail-in voting periods, permanent mail-in and absentee ballot lists, 15 additional days to register to vote, and extensions of mail-in and absentee submission deadlines. Georgia's Republican majority passed no excuse mail-in ballots in 2005, absentee voting with no ID, and allowed ballots to be collected at drop boxes rather than delivered to a circuit clerk. Arizona's Senate Republican majority tried to purge the mail-in lists of those Arizonans that had not voted in the prior elections, but they were blocked by those They were blocked by their own Republican House counterparts who were also in the majority, allowing for an unprecedented number of ballots to be mailed out. Michigan's Republican majority allowed ballot pre-processing, ballot drop boxes, cure periods, ballot spoiling, and also no excuse absentee voting, which again led to an unprecedented flood of mail-in ballots. Wisconsin's Republican majority continued to allow no excuse absentee voting and mail-in voter registration. Also, sidebar, an interesting fact about Wisconsin voter law, which might sound cheesy, the address on your ID does not have to match the address on the poll, nor does the name on your ID. So just in case you live somewhere else under a different name. Additionally, in Wisconsin, you can get a free ID card for voting, even if you can't provide proof of your name, date of birth, citizenship, or your identity in general. So while I can appreciate the perception of fraud and the potential in all of that, the Republican majorities in those states did nothing at all, to ensure that these measures would not be abused. So I don't understand how Republicans can be so blind. Principled or stupidity, everywhere you would hear Republican commentators, pundits, and other elected officials crying about how these rules would allow widespread fraud and the election would assuredly be stolen, spewing hot air while hoping no one saw their fingerprints on the yes button that let all of these rules exist in the first place. This is just the facts. The Republicans now have at least 2 years tiptoeing through a virtually unchallengeable Democrat-controlled Washington. Regardless of the party, this scenario is never good for the U.S. citizens. But take a moment and breathe, Republicans. I do believe that there are some very good people in the Democrat Party that will not allow the leftmost fringe of the Democrat Party push a Republican to the garbage can. Once you sober up and accept reality on reality's terms, you might find this is the time to pay attention, unite, and learn how to wrestle for your principles using your brain and a game plan. And yes, maybe start with finding new faces, new ideas, new voices, and new leadership for the Republican Party. But that's just my viewpoint. For Viewpoint USA, I'm Robert Deming.